good evening, afternoon, I guess. Thank you so much for. I'm so glad to see all of you today, and I believe this is the last session for today at the Great Lakes conference this morning, and I'm hoping all of you walked away with a lot of things that you want to incorporate, learned a few things, made a few friends. I'm hoping. So with that, this is not a technical discussion, and I'm hoping to not go into details of your tech stack or your process improvements journey. None of that. So what we were hoping to do, my co-host and I, who you will see in a second here, and clearly is not here, but I want to say thank you so much to her for helping me build this presentation. She has a family emergency and couldn't make it today. I'm going to be presenting all of the deck in here, but what we want to go over is Brittany and I lead the data and analytics engineering teams. And over the last almost 2 years, we've run across some of these challenges that I think most of us have faced. And one of the things that when we were talking with each other, we realized was, hey, didn't we do this in certain use case to come up with an easy way so that we're not running into problems at a later time? So the topic today, though it says scalable data teams, as you will see over the next couple of slides, most of these are like problems. What was one use case that we faced, what did we do to get over and use that as a more or less like a guidance. So next time we faced a similar problem, we were able to use that over and over again. Okay, so cheers to Brittany, and thank you, Brittany. Okay, so first we will start with okay, so if you've been in more than one data teams, you know this by now, right? Not all data teams are the same. Some have cloud, data, analytics. Some will have software engineering team who masquerade as data engineers. Some will have literal IT, software engineering, and some will have data scientists. Their role will say data science, but what they will end up doing is from the start to finish data engineering, looking at data, munging data, doing ETL. While understanding that not all data teams are the same, what we've come to realize is however your organization is organized, like is it 3 levels or is it all 1 level? The minute you have more than one team coordinating with each other, the term that people will use that none of us like are the RACI matrix. Tell me if you're an engineer and you like that. Please raise your hands if you like that word. Not UX, sorry. But it's hard to come up with RACI matrix and follow it through. And as engineers, and I consider myself as one, though I manage teams, it's hard to follow the pattern. But what is easier is to come up with contracts. So when one team is interacting with the other, I have a contract that these are the things that will be done when I hand over things to the other team. It's worked really well. So in the org that we are in, I have 3 different teams that we constantly work with. That's the cloud engineering, which does the infrastructure pieces, and there's data, and then there's analytics engineering. What we came up with was a little bit of a contract, and it's like 3 or 4 simple things that we follow. So every time we build something, this is the start, this is the end, and this is what we will stick to. With that, instead of coming up with these complex RACI matrix and identifying who the stakeholders are, it was easy for us to talk to engineering teams with each other and figure out, hey, here's where your borderline or your responsibilities end, and if there's a problem, this is where we start from. There's another. Oh, give me one tiny second. So with contracts, the 3 things that we really worked really well for us were contracts, handoffs, like I was talking about, and triages. So if there's a problem, there's a small amount of people that you need to triaging. So here are my teams. This is the contract between the teams. This is how we will triage. And that's a one-pager, like one sheet of page that everybody follows through was really important and very easy for us to follow. So yeah, not all teams are the same, but just understanding just those three things help us really, really well. Okay, so here's a fun exercise. How many of us have product roadmaps where the engineering is done as soon as the data is in the warehouse? Anybody? I've had a lot of instances. Thank you. And how many times have we run across these situations where the data is in the warehouse, but it's not consumption ready yet? It's just not ready for consumption. Either it's missing either the requirement is not fully captured and you need more stuff, or it's just consumption not ready by not all logic is incorporated, not all tests have been incorporated. It's just not consumption ready. So one of the things that really worked for us is the product roadmap includes two portions. One is getting the actual engineering piece done, which is like building those pipelines and making sure that it exists all the way. And an added time that is through validation, we also have consumption readiness time. Is this specific data request that you send to me complete when you start using it? So that's going to be a special time that we add to all requests. That's helped us not go back and rework some of our data pipelines, right? Like we deliver something, we move on to the next one. But most of the times what we've seen is we've gone back and fixed issues or like fixed nobody uses it because it's not consumption ready. So we were able to fix that pretty quickly by adding that consumption readiness factor and timeline into preparing to go from one step to the other. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that give me 1 second. Okay, so here's a funny story. So every time we get asked for a data, the first thing that we start doing is start writing Jira tickets. We used to do this. Okay, you need data. Okay, this is found in this system. Here are the Jira cards for you to like get these X tables, and let's start building those pipelines. I can see people smiling. How common is this, right? Like just go ahead, which is great, right? Because if you ask business, what are you going to do with this data? Most of the time, the answer is, I don't know. Give it to me, and then I will see what it looks like, and then I figure out what I'm going to do with it. There's a lot of the major conversations with that is that that is unacceptable. You can't say that to me. You will need to tell me exactly what you're going to do with the KPI. You're going to tell me exactly what you're going to build. Like look through imagine you have this data and tell me how you're going to build this and how you're going to make pipelines or how you're going to decision make with the data that I'm going to give you. We say that a lot as data teams. We were like, tell me what you're going to do with my data and then I will give it to you. What we've realized is that while business requirements is not tech specs, we'll need to have a little bit of empathy there as well. Like understanding that sometimes you will have to build those pipelines and give the data and expect it to not be the end answer at all. You try your level best to bridge that gap between what's been asked and what's been delivered. But don't jump into creating those Jira cards. Try. But even if you are doing that, just have the empathy that you need to have to be able to bridge that gap between what you're being asked to do and what you'll end up doing. So it helped in more than one way, where it helped lower frustrations with engineering teams, where when we were having these conversations, we're like, oh, they don't know what they're going to do with the data. But we're like, meaning that's sort of expected. You can be in their shoes and guide them, saying this is what it's going to look like. This is the granularity of the data that you're going to look at. This is the rows and columns and amount of data that you're going to picture and envision. But what also comes with that is also being empathetic that this may not be the end story. So when you're translating those business requirements into technical requirements, we need to have that chat with the engineers as well. And sometimes it's throwaway work. I completely understand how frustrating that is, especially when you've built all of these and then you're doing this back and forth recon where you're like, oh, all of that was done was not delivered, so I'm going to start from scratch. While that also happens a lot, it helped at least from where we are, that we like pace ourselves out, build those requirements, still have empathy that you will have to go back and backtrace a little bit. I know that's not a very empowering statement for sure, but it helps. It definitely helps engineering teams as you lead them. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is my favorite because this is to do a lot with data engineering. So anytime anybody says, oh, so we're going to get this tool, is this going to be a enterprise tool that we will use for 3 to 5 years? Internally, I usually start laughing because 3 to 5 years, do you even know what you'll be looking at? How many companies have not around that you've bought licenses for? While it's nice to assume the actions or like the use cases that you will pick will serve you for 3 to 5 years, it helps to start small, and it helps to stay true to your almost true to your core nature, which is going as close as possible to software engineering principles. Like, get it version controlled if you can. If you write queries, try to get it version controlled. If you're writing pipelines, try Terraform it if you can. Put CI/CD in there. Can you, like, if everything goes down, can you bring it back up? Try as close as possible to stay true to your principles of software engineering. That really helps. And start really small and focus, I would say, on building. I'm going to use this word very closely to 2 different meanings. One is, when you say scalable, you also want to be able to repeat it over and over again and increase how many you're doing from 1 to 10 or something like that. But it also needs to be very scalable in terms of, can you be close enough to know that what you've done is correct? Like, what's your correctness is very important. So by that I mean focusing on really small, crucial things. Like, one of the things that we did was to implement false positives checks monitoring. The other one was checking for counts at each stage. To me, that's pretty scalable, right? Every time you incorporate something, every time you develop a pipeline, you want to make sure that when it hops from one system to the other, you incorporate a counts check. So you now have a recon that's going on and on. And every time you have a new system that you incorporate in, also make sure that you look for false positives. So everything happened perfectly fine, but nothing happened. Like, there's no error because it didn't catch any of the error situations. But the data still didn't load into the system. What happens then? So that's a false positive, right? You did not get an error. So building that, the couple of things that you can repeat over and over again and scale with every step that you go, really helped. That's one of the things that I would say that, at least in data engineering world, I really appreciate being able to do that for everything that we built, every pipeline that we built, every source that we built. We kept repeating it over and over again. Okay, moving on. This, so when you have more than one, when you have more than one team, how many of us have been on these war room calls where you're coordinating between 10 different teams, trying to figure out who is responsible for, like, clicking one button? I mean, I was on one this morning. This is very, very common, you guys. So I think the idea is that what helped, or rather what is helping us today, is having those non-siloed discussion and not throwing things over boundaries. This is not my problem. I'm going to toss it over to the other team's problem, saying, I don't have admin access. I'm going to give it to this team who may or may not have access. Not my problem. I'm going to sit over here and wait for somebody else to figure out the issue. What helped us was having these conversations when it's not a prod support situation. So there's a chat every week that the teams that I usually work with, which is network, infrastructure, cloud, data and analytics engineering, we just sit together and really talk about what happened the last week and what is the triage situation that will happen if the same situation repeats next time. And pretty much root cause analysis for every use case. But over time, there's only so many things that can go wrong and so many people that you need to get involved. Knowing those patterns really, really helped. What all of that is to say, the more silos that we break down, it helped bringing teams together, saying that though it's not, I don't have the admin access to be able to do it, I do know the SQL admin will be able to run this because it missed a schedule. So I do know that. So even if the SQL admin isn't on the call, I will be able to give a direction that says, this is the person that you need to get to. That coordination and empathy and working together really helped when we started breaking down those silos and having those conversations when your house is not on fire. I mean, it helped. And I want all of us to bear in mind that all of these are not completely successful stories. These are some things that helped alleviate problems, right? I'm not going to stand here and tell you we're 200% perfectly fine, and you can call me a liar right after I say that. These are things that we are trying to incorporate as we go towards a place where, as teams, we mature, as people, we mature. So just, if you come across one of these things, if you can take away that, I heard somewhere that having a meeting of stakeholders when there isn't a fire helps. It works. It does work, actually. Okay. Moving on. Okay. I think this is one of the use cases which I think we incorporated from a couple of other situations that we've read about and we've looked at, which is, I think this is now becoming more and more popular. Every time there's a self-serve analytics, right? What's your published metrics? Are everybody using the same definitions for the same terms? So I would say that it's not something we found, but something that we are trying to incorporate both as data governance and for self-service. If you're using a specific definition, we making sure that everybody uses the same formula to come up with the same calculation, more or less, and publishing it and having road shows and having those Friday meetings where people are showing up and asking you questions. The other thing that helped with this is to create these, what we call the intakes, or even if you want something, anything that you want with data, new data, existing data, I don't know where this is data, but I want to get my hands on this data. All of those are requests for data. And we want people to go self-service themselves, right? That's the whole idea. But when we want people to be able to do that, we also want them to fill out a form that somebody looks at in the team and says, okay, you're asking for this. This is readily available. Go get it from here. Or this doesn't exist and it's going to take 3 to 5 business days to get it for you. Or it doesn't exist at all. It needs to be a new data pipeline and we're going to go create it for you. That helped because now we have somebody looking at it, and we also have a team responding to standardized metrics. Oh, you don't know this data. Oh, it's available, and this is the metrics that we publish on this Confluence site or DBT Docs where you can go find it. We're on our way to get maybe a data dictionary across. I'm not sure if you guys have heard Metaphor, but they're not a company anymore. But something like that like incorporates every level of data at rest and trying to figure out how the lineage works and the definitions. I think that's another maturity that we can get to. But if any of your teams have achieved that, I would love to talk to you guys what your journey has been incorporating a data dictionary across the enterprise. I think this is one of my last slides, and I think we spoke about this a little bit earlier, where spending some time on doing repeatable patterns really helps, and solving for I want to say solving for problems that you know exist right away. So sticking really close to roots of software engineering truly helped. Like sticking to Terraform truly helped. Sticking to orchestration platforms truly helped. Sticking to knowing that we will need testing that can be repeated helps. So here's an example. You could wait to ingest every log from every system into Datadog and have a complex state dashboard that like tabulates how the system works. Or you could have your data pipelines throw counts in a table that can be tracked later, a Power BI visualized or Tableau visualized. Or you could have a small alert that says false positives, right? No errors, but nothing really fruitful happened. So investing in those incremental changes with data infrastructure as opposed to saying, greenfield, we're going to go Snowflake, we're going to go Fivetran, go tomorrow. I'm pretty sure none of us are in a place where we can say that, right? But investing in those really, really small data tech infrastructure helps. So I think that's the end of my presentation. Questions? Yes.
And how they're really right at the beginning.
Yep.
Is it fair though to ask for at least for like what's one use case that they're going to start with to make sure that whatever you come up with at least has some value in the first version?
So the question is, tech specs are not business requirements, and what's one use case where the requirement matched what we were building? Did I get that right?
Kind of. I mean, you know you're going to go back and forth.
Yes.
Requesters.
Yes.
Could you at least ask the requesters?
Yes.
Just give us at least one use case.
Yep.
That we did. So we at least have something to aim for.
I think that makes perfect sense. Like asking the requester, hey, you are closest to the consumption of this data. Paraphrasing what you're asking, is it safe to ask them, imagine in your best world scenario, what data would you have and what would you build off of it? Forget what exists. What would you build if you had access to every data possible in your whole wide universe? I think that's a fair question to ask. My point was that even that would be incorrect a lot of times. And as you lead at least data teams, engineering teams at least, having that empathy to say, this may not be the end state, and we will have to revisit. But what at least data engineering wise, what really helps is, I would challenge my team, okay, so you're gonna bring this data, how much of unpatterned work are you gonna do? Like, is it going from S3 to Redshift, for example? We already have a pattern to ingest that data. So what if it's a throwaway work? That's fine. It's at least like unblocks people downstream to be able to see the data. Is it how far away are you gonna go from your usual patterns to not be able to do this? So to me, saying no just because it could be a throwaway work doesn't seem like you're encouraging adoption. you want to be able to say, it's fine, it's a repeatable pattern on my end. I can do it for you. It's okay if it's throwaway. We can always come back and revisit this conversation at a later time. So yes, ask for those questions, like ask. But if you're an engineering manager, like I would push to see how much is it rework. And if it's rework and you have to do it from scratch, why don't we have a pattern for something like this? Why can't we use this as a POC to create that pattern? Even if it goes away, just repeat it next time you see the same thing. So, yeah, of course. Anybody else? Yes.
So as you're looking at staffing up teams on this sort of model that you have, are there specific skill sets, behaviors that you look for in sort of an ideal team member to fill out the role that you're looking at there?
So the question is, as you're looking at hiring, are there skill sets that you're looking when they like scope between teams?
Right. So like as you're looking at folks where you want to staff up, say, your data engineering team, are there specific skill sets other than knows the tech stack that you'd be looking for in sort of your ideal team members?
Yes, ability to grow and say, I don't know, and I'm okay to learn. So we're in the process of learning Kafka today, and a lot of my team members don't know. And the only challenge there is it uses some of the concepts that you may or may not know, but would you be willing to learn something that you don't? So your foundations are the same, your software foundations are the same, but the ability to say, yes, I don't know, being vulnerable enough to say, I don't know, but I will be able to learn this, or I am willing to be able to learn to do this, is very crucial. That's one thing that I would say. And I think to be able to say that, as at least the people who are leading those teams, I usually just tell my team, I got your back. It's fine. You crash and burn. It's okay. We will be there. We will make sure that if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We pivot and go another way. Yeah, but I think that really helps the management telling them that they've got their back, and the individual saying yes, being vulnerable enough to say yes, I'm okay to learn more. I think that's helped so far, but we'll know more if I do this next year, so you can ask me. Okay. Okay. I think we're okay. Thank you.